I'm Zoe Delahunty-Light, and since it came out into early access, I've been playing a lot of Nightingale. I was enthralled by the idea of a gaslamp fae fantasy because it ticks all of my boxes. Fairies, incredible outfits, fancy guns, crafting, and the chance to create architectural wonders. However, the more time I've spent with Nightingale, the more my initial impressions have been tested. This is a review in progress, so I will be doing an updated video on my thoughts in due time, and I would like to remind everyone that Nightingale is in early access, so it will, surely, get better from henceforth. With that in mind, here is my Nightingale early access review in progress. Nightingale's Steam reviews are mixed, which is the ideal word to describe how I'm feeling about the game at the moment. Despite messaging from developers, I contest the claim that Nightingale can be played solo. It absolutely can, right up until the point where you have to take on bosses. Here, the entire solo play idea falls apart and is my chief issue with Nightingale. I'm a loner when it comes to video games, so having an NPC follower by my side during these boss fights was, at first, a nice little bit of company. I would die with my measly pea shooter to a knight, my NPC follower would revive me, rinse and repeat. At this point, the boss fights were a boring slog, but they were fine. I could progress the main questline and open up more realms which have plenty to harvest in aid of growing my strength. Speaking of the NPC follower, they really need some kind of behaviour/instruction menu, just like Kelvin from Sons of the Forest. Anyway, then I accidentally deleted the map marker that shows me where my NPC follower is, and that deleted my NPC follower. This bug caused me incalculable amounts of grief in Nightingale, and I don't know why it would even be a thing, but I'm not a developer, so whatever. Without an NPC follower, playing solo, the boss fights are the most enraging thing in the game, hands down. Every time I died, I had to respawn at my estate cairn, then leg it back to the fight arena, grab my stuff from my death chest so the negative buff didn't affect me during the fight some more, die some more, scream some more. There is now a fairy ring item that allows you to set your respawn point closer to the arena, but that does not address the frustration of these lower level solo boss fights. Having a pea shooter, imagine the peas were made of stone, and that's accurate, as the only thing standing in between my demise and victory was so boring. I don't know who thought having you as a solo player with a slingshot going up against a boss alone was a good idea, but I would like to have a word with them. The problem is, if you don't vanquish these bosses, you don't unlock the recipe for more advanced realm cards. Without these realm cards, you can't access stronger resources and recipes, which means you can't become more powerful, so, in a word, you're stuck. Which is a crying shame, because those realms being held hostage by the bosses are wondrous. There's NPCs there with quests that'll get you gun recipes, beautiful gun recipes, new fauna, tons of essence to be reaped so you can buy shiny new recipes at the essence traders. It truly is the Nightingale we were promised. The memory game trials get more difficult and had me really having to concentrate, which was one of my issues with the preview I had, and the same goes with the agility courses and finding all the sigils hidden in these maze-like ruins. I hope you can hear the conflict in my voice because I really like these Fae realms, but the means to get there is so unnecessarily tiresome. Crafting, too, could use some streamlining. Right at the beginning of Nightingale, it makes sense to be sluggish, as your workbenches have been cobbled together, but the third level of crafting workstations should have a slicker way to make highly processed items, like lenses or carved wood or cloth. Instead of having wood logs which turns into lumber, which turns into carved wood, and you having to be there in between each step to move the materials from workbench A to B to C, I found myself wishing there was a little imp or something I could recruit to do all that stuff for me. Especially as the more Nightingale progresses, the more intermediary steps there are to get the resources to craft the really fancy items. Because, look, we all want to wear those stunning outfits in the Nightingale trailer, having Tudor-esque homes to retreat to with our sterling silver guns with filigree detailing, don't we? That was the vision that was sold to us, and I understand that it takes a while in any survival game to get to that point. I just found myself mourning the lack of aesthetic at lower levels, and the unclear progression. For example, I very happily bought recipes for guns the second I found them at an essence trader, but there are few instructions as to what workstations are needed to craft the components, and there are so many, so you couldn't reasonably deduce what you need just by looking at the recipe, and also what resources you need to do so. I've had to do a bit of trial and error to craft the correct workstations to make the things I need to get closer to that aesthetic dream. Nightingale absolutely needs not even clearer signposting, but some signposting when it comes to resources and crafting. Especially as you can go to an essence trader and just buy the resources you need, but obviously that's quite expensive, and then you're spending that money on resources instead of on more recipes and workstations. Now, outside of the process itself, I do think crafting has been thought through. In any survival game, you do a lot of crafting and building, and in Nightingale the two are synonymous thanks to the benefits you get from ensuring your crafting activities are well lit and sheltered. Having a light source, whether that's a campfire or a wall sconce, bequeaths the well-lit trait, improving how quickly your workbench crafts, with it being under a roof with a sheltered trait, giving similar benefits. Augmentations like bellows, fermenters, or a coat stand being close to specific workbenches not only improves their performance, but increases the catalogue of recipes available. Again, something I really like. Sleeping inside a building with 4 walls and a roof means your bed has a higher comfort score, leading to more restful sleep. These features build towards a symbiotic home where its structure and furniture placement work together to benefit you. You can see the amount of thought gone into the survival element of Nightingale, as all these traits and symbiotic relationships show. It's the combat that Nightingale suffers with. In the middle of writing the script, I went back to Nightingale to craft some guns, at last, and took them to the boss fight to see if it improved it at all, and it didn't. It's still a slog, and at these higher levels the bosses heal slowly, I think, although that seemed to only happen once, so all the time I was running back to the arena, it was getting stronger. Plus, the fairy ring I used to spawn closer to the fight disappeared after one use. Considering it used a synchronous lotus, not an easy object to come by, and limited if you can't unlock more realms, I was absolutely furious that it was, apparently, a single-use item, which was not told to me when I crafted the item, which I think should be really clearly signposted. One of the major moans about Nightingale currently is that it cannot be played offline. You need an internet connection to access the servers. Developers are aware of this complaint and appear to be trying to address it, but there's no updates yet about when an offline mode would be available. Nightingale has so much potential, but at the price of £22.49, I simply can't in good conscience recommend Nightingale for anyone right now. In the future, I'm sure there will be updates that improve the combat and progression, as the developers appear to be eager to listen to feedback from the community. I'll be continuing to play Nightingale over the coming months and should be back with an updated review in the future, so make sure to stick around for that if you want the green light to finally buy the game, whether that's in early access or not. And that is my review in progress of Nightingale. As time goes on and the developers release updates, I'll be coming out with my fuller review, tips, and other kinds of videos that elude me at the moment. So, if that sounds like something you'd want to watch, feel free to subscribe to Eurogamer and drop a like on this video, as that gives me an indication of whether Nightingale content is desired. For those of you who are playing Nightingale, what do you think of it so far? Are there any issues you've run into as a solo player, in particular when it comes to combat? Let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for choosing to spend your time with me, and now I'm going to go and build a harpy altar because I love them so much. So, I'll see you lot next time.